been a while since I used this rig. What we have here is a feed table miter box. It's based on a 1/4 20 threaded rod, which moves this carriage 20 threads to the inch is 50 thousandths per turn. And the wheel I've actually have marked in 50 equal segments. So in theory, I can dial in to 1/1000th of an inch with this rig. So the fingerboard mounts here, the saw goes here, there's a scale that I can attach for whatever fingerboard I'm making and dial them in, and I can also have the dimension in thousandths of an inch because of the feed screw. One thing I've never been able to find are the manufacturing tolerances for a 1/4 20 threaded rod. I have never had a problem with things being out of tune because of this. So this is what I'll be using to cut the fret slots. I still have to calculate where they are, and when I started doing this too many years ago to mention, it was before the days of personal computers. I did find a programmable calculator. Do you remember those? And made the program for calculating the fret slots. So you put in the string length and it would calculate the position of each fret. Nowadays you can go online and there are several spreadsheets where you can just put in your string length and bam, there are your fret positions, which is what I'll do. So anyway, I got to clean the dust off this thing and get the fret locations, and then we can start on the fingerboard. Five, 900, 950, 6 inches. I'm double checking this with a steel ruler because this is one thing I really don't want to screw up. .647, 647. So it's 6 inches. 6050, 6100, 6150, 6200, 6550, 600, and 47. And we'll double check that. That's about 6 5/8. Yep. I couldn't get a printout to tape on here, so I have to be really careful and count all of the turns. You may notice that I back up a couple of times. That's because I lost track and I back up to the last known fret. As long as you always approach from the same direction to take care of the backlash, you can do that. Well, that's it for this process. I guess I can put this machine away for another 30 years. I'm going to put the frets in the fingerboard before I put the fingerboard on the instrument, so I won't have to pound on it. So first to cut off the frets with the end nippers, and then pound them into the slots. I've got a brass faced hammer instead of a plastic faced hammer, which I really should have. But I tap them in to get them fully seated, and then check the flatness and do any fine tuning with the file. Well, I'm getting ready to glue the fingerboard on. I've got some clamps to check the alignment. I may add more clamps when I actually glue it, and I'll probably use fish glue because it's got substantial open time and is easy to clean up. I've masked off to make cleanup easier. The fingerboard's ready, the body's ready, the neck is set. There's the clamps, and I'm warming up that old fish glue. So after supper, we'll put this fingerboard on. Let the wild rumpus begin. I've had these two pieces of bone soaking in acetone for a week or 10 days. I think they're as fat-free as they're going to get. You need to get the grease out of the bone so it won't migrate through the wood and cause any glue joints to fail. The nut has to fit in this groove between the face veneer and the end of the fingerboard. 1.91 inches. I'll write that down. Well, I was able to work it down on the belt sander to where it's just about 10/1000ths oversize. I can either continue filing the bone or I could widen the notch a little bit. Actually, the veneer needs to be squared up, so that's what I'll do. They do make special files for this, but I don't happen to have one. Who could argue with that? A quick trip to the bandsaw and the belt sander, and this is what we have. Just about perfect. So now the thing to do is just to round off the sharp edges where they protrude and polish it. And this will be good to go. I'm rounding the back side of the nut so that the strings will hit the curve of that back side and ride up smoothly to the notch that'll hold the string spacing. If I left it flat, there'd be a lot more friction there and the instrument would be hard to tune. These have pretty low string tension, so got to make it slide as easy as we can. The string spacing is pretty straightforward. There's 1/8 of an inch between the high strings, 1/2 an inch between the others. The two outside strings are 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the fingerboard. I have a set of nut files for the most common string gauges. The strings on this are 23 thousandths, 12 thousandths, 10 thousandths, and 9 thousandths. It's about as thin a file as you can get. The string slots are filed parallel to the face of the head. I'll file to the final depth over the fingerboard when I do the final setup. Well, I'm going to string this thing up and check the action. But what I'll do is slip a piece of wood onto that apron so I can get a good height on the saddle. I got the saddle position adjusted so that the octave fret was in tune with the first harmonic, which is ideal. So the last details to take care of are the putting in the bone saddle and the strap button. So that'll be the last video, I promise. After the Guitulcimer series is done, I'll be posting a series of videos on making the masts and spars for a 17th century replica ship I've been volunteering on. These are the biggest pieces of woodwork I've ever done. I post these videos and also a series of quick tips on patreon.com/harperswood. Patrons get early access to my videos and also some exclusive content. Thanks for watching. See you next time.